3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomatic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I'm the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic, as well as the film correspondent, I guess would be my position, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that or doggy style. No, anyway.
TMI.
Anyway, so what we're going to do is we are going to list our top 3 favorite comedies.
Yep.
Which, for the record, at least for me, is my top 3 comedies today. I tend to change my mind a lot.
Yeah, me too. Some of them get dated. Some of them, it changes with your mood. Sorry. I'm actually going to be talking about the top 3 that surprised me, that I was not expecting anything from, and then you watch them and you're shocked, and they pretty much became some of my favorite movies. Actually, not even my top comedies, my top movies, really.
I went for movies that made me laugh throughout.
Okay.
Is how I went with it, because there's a lot of comedies that I like a lot more than the movies I'm about to list, but I like them because they were profound, because they made me think and laugh at the same time. But they're not comedies where I sat down and I just laughed throughout the entire thing, and then like my sides hurt because I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
But this week, that's what we're doing. 3 comedies, both of us. It's the laugh out loud factor, I think.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. So, why waste time? Let's get started. Why don't you get us started with your number 3 pick?
My number 3 is Dodgeball. I was not expecting slapstick to be funny. It's like, okay, they're going to receive balls in the face, and, they're going to get stuff thrown at them. It's going to be silly. It was actually hilarious. That was most of the humor, the slapstick, but they were very good at it, and they managed to make it really, really funny.
No, I agree. When that came out, I was less than enthused because we had seen like the 17th Will Ferrell sports comedy at that point, so I expected the same thing except with Ben Stiller and Matthew Vaughn instead. I was like, really? Why?
Yeah, exactly.
But what I think I like about this is that it's just a little bit different than the redeeming hero and whatnot. It has some of those tropes, but it's much more team oriented, for one.
Yeah.
And there's just like random absurdities throughout. Like there's Alan Tudyk, who plays a guy who thinks he's a pirate, and that never really pays off or goes anywhere. It's just there's a guy who thinks he's a pirate.
Yeah, it pays off at the end, but it's like the whole movie just for that one joke at the end there, and you're like, okay, that was totally worth it. But yeah, like you said, it's not really just, like those Will Ferrell one. It's just Will Ferrell and, everybody's reacting to Will Ferrell being zany, but it's really an ensemble, group. Everybody does their thing, and, it's funny because everybody's working together at it, and that's why I really like it.
Yeah, well, even Ben Stiller as the bad guy brings a lot as a supporting character. He's hilarious, but he's specifically hilarious to bounce off the other team.
Yeah, exactly. He's the bad guy, but he's such a dumb, incompetent bad guy, and he works it, it's like, how are these guys, being in trouble because of this? But yeah, completely working.
Having said that, I wish they had kept the original ending.
Yes, the original ending is great. If you haven't seen it, it's on special edition on the DVD. It's completely worthwhile just to get the DVD, just watch that. It is really funny.
Yeah, they had to redo it because test audiences didn't like it. And what they came up with sort of works, let's face it. There's a little bit of undercutting that's kind of pretty cute.
Yeah.
Especially regarding the female character. That was kind of amusing. But then they switched it back again, so maybe not. But really, I wish they had gone full on with the original ending, which really gives a new meaning to the title.
Yeah.
Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with those test audience. That ending was hilarious. I actually like it more than the real ending, honestly.
Me too. I mean, granted, it's an ending that's designed to piss off test audiences, almost. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you wish the producers would have read the test audience reaction and went like, "Yep, that's what we wanted."
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, in the theaters, I would have been just cracking up at that. I'm sure, like, some people would have been like really angry, but I would have been laughing even more at their anger. Which I guess it's not part of the movie, but still.
But I think it would have been an ending that people would have talked about, which would have given it word of mouth, a much stronger word of mouth, because you might be pissed off when you come out, but there's no one that's going to be so stupid not to know that if it pissed you off, it was on purpose.
Yeah.
So you would have talked about it. And that might have been a good thing.
That's a good point. So let's move on. What's your number 3?
My number 3 pick for best comedy, I am going to go Asian, yo. I'm going to go with a Hong Kong comedy called Shaolin Soccer.
Great choice.
Yes, that is a Stephen Chow comedy that came out like something around 2000. I don't remember. I listed it as one of my favorite movies of the aughts as well. So I'm just repeating myself. We've reached that point. We've done enough episodes where it's just like I'm just a redundant part.
I mean, if it's your favorite movie of the aughts and it's a comedy, it has to be logically in this, or else you're not consistent, honestly.
I suppose so. So what it is, it's Stephen Chow plays this guy who really wants to promote Shaolin Kung Fu, and then realizes that the only outlet left for him to do it in is the sport of football for our European audience, and for American audience, soccer.
Yes, exactly.
And so he integrates essentially Matrix-style martial arts, full-on special effects thing with the game of soccer. And for some reason, his opponents do the same.
Yeah, because they're using the American drugs.
Yes, which this kills me. In the American version, the American DVD and the American theatrical release, that subplot was cut out of the movie.
So how do they explain how good they are?
They never do. They just are like that. Oh. If you get the original Hong Kong version, it's because they take steroids, special drugs that the Americans use in their sports, which gives them like evil chi, essentially.
Come on, have a sense of humor about your country, honestly. After, Lance Armstrong and all these things, you cannot tell me that you don't know that, steroids are used in sports. So come on.
Well, it's a bad guy. Like, even as an American, I feel if you listen to this and you go like, hey, we're the evil Russians in this movie. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Honestly, my favorite scene is not even when they're playing soccer. It's when he's still trying to find out what to do with, Shaolin Kung Fu, and he tries singing instead.
I know. It's like, what would be a good outlet for Shaolin Kung Fu? Karaoke, of course.
And you see them, like, the worst singers, like, ever. It's terrible, but it's so funny. The actors can't even, sing without cracking up. It's so bad. It's just that's probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh, I agree. It's the one where I'm in tears. I am in tears at that point. And it's mostly due to the fact that the two actors on screen trying to sing about how Shaolin Kung Fu is great are also on the verge of tears. Like you said, they can barely get through the scene. And it's in the film, and you get the feeling that that's the best take they could get. Like,
after 20 takes, okay, you guys can't stop laughing. I'm just going to use number 3 or something, because you laughed the least in this one.
Yeah. I don't know. I really love that movie. It makes me laugh every time.
Yeah. Probably also the best use of special effect I have seen. Like, this CGI is completely warranted.
And well done. Like, for those of you who are used to, like, 90s style Hong Kong movies where the special effects, especially when they started doing digital, is iffy at best.
Yeah, I know.
But in Shaolin Soccer, no, it's top-notch special effects. It's really well done.
I know. And, yeah, like you said, it went from, like, being great when they had the ropes, then they start using CGI, and you're like, oh, these movies are not very good anymore. And then you go to Shaolin Soccer, and it's like, why can't they all do them like this? This is spectacular. I guess it's a theme because, the next Stephen Chow movie he did, like Kung Fu Hustle, special effects are great in that one too.
Spectacular. Yeah, no, they're really, really good.
So I don't know, he really maybe insists that, well, he is a big star, so he probably insists, like, let's put, the big money on the effects. Let's make it look good because I want my movies to look good.
Yeah, maybe as a director, he's someone who cares a lot more about this as opposed to other Hong Kong directors.
Yeah.
Because there is this philosophy of Hong Kong of just like, this is fast food entertainment, people. Like, just pop it out. And maybe he doesn't feel that way about it.
Yeah. And it shows, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, moving on to your number 2 pick. What is your number 2 pick for best comedy?
It's the French version of A Dinner for Schmuck called Le Dîner Con. It was remade in American, and the movie is completely different. The American version is completely different. In the French version, basically, they have the same dinner for schmuck, where they invite, like, a schmuck, and they basically have this dinner so that they can make fun of the crazy person.
Yeah, the stupid person.
Yeah, the stupid person. Yeah. So the guy he has the guy he invites, and he that causes, I think, his wife or his girlfriend just to leave because she's sick of these dinner for schmuck. They think they're degrading.
But it's also that everything goes wrong, so that because he has to befriend the schmuck first to get to the dinner.
Yeah.
He has to befriend him long enough to be able to invite him to dinner. And during that time, the guy is such a schmuck that he manages to systematically ruin the main character's life.
Exactly. And then, his wife leaves him, and then the schmuck tries to find a way to get her back, and he ruins the guy's life even more. And, you can pretty much see it. It's pretty funny. It's like pretty much the guy getting his comeuppance, and the schmuck is not even doing it on purpose. He's really just that awkward and stupid that, he creates situations like that. And it was so funny. And it surprised me because normally I'm not really a fan of French humor. Their style is really like, let's make like a 10-minute setup for a joke. And I can see that the punchline's coming. So when they come, you're like, yeah, I could see that coming like 3 minutes ago. But this one, I could not, I was not expecting it. And every time something wrong happened, you're like, oh my God, again. And it was really, really funny.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a movie that works. And I think part of what makes it work, though, and why the American remake didn't quite have that success is because the American remake sort of softened it, sort of made the Paul Rudd character, who's played by Thierry Lhermitte in the original, much more conflicted about what he's doing. Because what he's doing is so mean,
Yeah.
Whereas in the French movie, they accept the idea that, no, people are just plain mean.
Yeah.
And so Thierry Lhermitte's character is unredeemably a jerk. There's no softness in what he's doing. But the thing is, he's a completely well-adapted, seemingly nice person, except that he's completely willing to invite a guy just to make fun of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that he pays for it just makes it all the more delicious after that. Because it's like, there's no excuse. I can't feel bad for you.
Although even, eventually it goes so bad that you start feeling like bad for the guy. And it gets even worse and worse and worse. And even at the end when, it resolves and you're like, okay, this is a good resolve. It messes it up even more.
Yes.
And oh my God, that just, the ending punchline just, I probably laughed like 2 minutes after the credits were done rolling. It was so good. So if you can find it with subtitles or something, I don't know if it's even possible.
It is, because the director who made the remake actually chose to make the remake because he saw the French movie in subtitles and decided, I want to make that movie.
Okay. So yeah, I totally recommend it. It's okay. So it's reading. The rhythm of the humor might be a little lost, but the reason for which it's funny, it'll still work, and you will laugh, guaranteed.
Yeah, and the good thing with French comedies as well is that the French speak with their hands a lot. They really do.
Yeah.
How do you get a French person to shut up? You cut their hands,
Wow.
And so if you don't understand the language, it'll still work because half of their performance is so physical.
Yeah.
Without it being slapstick. It's verbal jokes, but the way they perform them, it's very physical.
Yeah, you're right. So what is your number 2?
My number 2, I'm going into a slightly different thing because it's a much more melancholic movie, I would say, but it's The Brothers Bloom by Ryan Johnson, who gave us Looper recently.
Okay.
And it's a little independent movie with the Hulk, the new Hulk there, Mark Ruffalo.
Okay.
And Adrian Brody. And it's about 2 con men who grew up orphans and discovered that the con way of life was the life for them, but not because they like to rob people specifically. It's just because they like telling stories. So they like to make elaborate cons because it's their way of writing the perfect story, if you will.
Nice.
Which is really fun. And they keep saying, like, the perfect con is the con where everybody gets what they want. Which, when you think about it, that's not a con.
That's a good point.
But so they target this rich woman who's very lonely, who lives secluded, a pretty miserable life despite the fact that she's super rich, and give her the adventure of her life in order to take her money at the end of it.
Yeah.
And of course, one of the brothers is softer than the other, and he starts to fall in love with her, and it's just their story of their con. But what makes it work is one, thing in particular. There's one character who's a Japanese woman who's their partner, who never talks, and who could best be described as a silent movie character stuck in a talkie.
Oh, wow.
So she never says a word except once or twice just to exclaim something when things go really messed up.
Okay.
And she's so funny because she'll be in the background doing weird random things while the other characters are having a serious conversation or sort of moving forward the con. And she'll be in the background sort of like hacking at a palm tree for no really, really good reason.
Nice.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
You think she was added afterwards when the guy, they read the script and was like, yeah, this needs to be funnier, and let's just add a character that does random shit in the background.
I don't know. I think, because she is well integrated in the story and she does play a role thematically as well. But
okay. So it's not like another teen movie where they just added random stuff shouted because, the movie's not funny enough. Let's just add random people basically just riffing the movie as you're watching it in the background.
Although that was the best part of that movie,
yes.
was those lines.
Oh, yeah. It was very funny. Without that, it's like, oh, it's okay. But those lines just made the movie. So I was thinking maybe that girl was exactly the same thing. Oh, it's a good movie. But now that she's in there, oh, it's hilarious.
Although I have to say, everything else also works. There's Rachel Weisz, who plays the rich woman who's also secluded, and what she's done in her life, because she never goes out, but she takes on one hobby after the next, because she's so rich she can afford it.
Yeah.
So she can do really weird things that you wouldn't expect her to be able to do. So she can roller skate or like a pro or things like that. And there's a scene where, it's like, oh, you can do things? Show me what you can do. And it's just a montage of her doing increasingly weird things. Like at one point she's juggling chainsaws and it's like, what?
Oh my god. What actors did they get that could do that?
I think it's trickery, So I totally recommend it. It has an indie feel, and I think a lot of people avoided it because they were like, indie comedy is going to try to be profound. But it's like, there's subtext in it. There's interesting subtext about the nature of fiction, what makes the perfect story, essentially, because that's what they're after, the perfect con. The con that pleases everyone in the audience, which of course is impossible, and that's a joke.
Yeah.
But beyond that, on the surface, it's laugh out loud funny as well. So even if you ignore the subtext, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. All right, that looks interesting. I'm actually just, check it out.
No, I definitely recommend it.
Cool.
All right, we're up to already your number one pick for best comedy.
Number one pick is The Wedding Singer. When I first heard about this movie, I was very resistant to watching it. First of all, because it's Adam Sandler, and I have never liked any of his comedies before that.
Admittedly.
Happy Gilmore or
Billy Madison.
They're not just, they were not funny. They were just the opposite. I hated them. It's like, I hate this character so much I want to strangle him.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that throughout the 90s he managed to get so much success with that character. Like, to be clear, I'm not surprised that he managed to be successful because I think he's very funny when he's not doing that character.
Exactly.
But that character is what got him over to the top, and I don't get it. He's just loud. That's all I get from it.
Exactly. And also, for instance, it's in the 80s, you'll love it. And immediately, like, the flashback of that 80s show came to my mind where, the whole show was built on, this is the 80s. We have crazy stuff like, this giant cell phone, it's like, do I want to watch, an hour and a half of like 80s joke? And admittedly, there are some of them in the movie, but they're spaced out. So, it's not an overdose. And the rest of the movie is just really funny. It's a funny story, and it was really enjoyable to watch. It's like, wow, this is probably one of my favorite movies just after watching it. It's great.
No, I agree. I was surprised by it as well. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Yeah. I think that it's interesting what you say about the 80s thing, because I think what makes it work better than other 80s reference type movies is that the fact that he's a wedding singer gives a context to the reference to the 80s, where it becomes a comment on 80s culture instead of just like, remember this?
Yeah.
Because there is an argument that can be made, and is very well made in The Wedding Singer, that the 80s are fundamentally tacky as a wedding singer.
Yeah. And even, one of the characters even says, you think I'm cool? Look at me, I'm wearing a glove. It's like, it's really, it's really a comment on that, and it really works. It's just like the comedy is set in the 80s, and it's not like a comedy about the 80s. That's what really, that's what makes it different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really enjoyed Billy Idol's cameo as Billy Idol from the 80s. Wonder how they approached him to do that. You want to play yourself? And he said, sure. You want to play yourself from the 80s? Sure.
Who was the actress? Was Drew Barrymore?
Drew Barrymore, yeah.
He has a good rapport with Drew Barrymore. He's one of the, usually when he teams up with her, it ends up a better project than usual.
Even, people didn't like, I know most people didn't like 50 First Dates, but I really liked it too. It was, again, their chemistry is great on screen, and you really feel it. And I thought that one was funny too, but like The Wedding Singer a lot more, but they really have this good rapport together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great dynamic. Also, although she's easy to have a good dynamic with. I've rarely seen her in a romantic comedy where she didn't seem to fit with the other guy. Like, she seems to be an actress that gives back to the...
Yeah, she's, I don't know where she is right now in career, but, I do not understand why she had that big of a hiatus, and her scream with her being comeback, because she's very good as an actress, and she plays well with others. She helps the cast. She doesn't, it's not just her, look at me, like certain other big stars.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, her big hiatus was to the fact that she went ahead and got herself an education and everything, and also she got emancipated because her parents stole all her money, and she had to gain independence at around 14 or something like that.
That's
it's
terrible.
Like her youth is super tumultuous. But hey, man, she cleaned herself up something fierce, and she is not only a good actress but also a good producer and whatnot. So good for her, and I always look forward to her projects.
That's cool.
Yeah. Even when Adam Sandler is involved, apparently.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? Yeah, I like those two comedies because, again, it's the only two Adam Sandler comedies that he's not just yelling and, being loud. Although, for the fans of that, he does it a couple of times in the movie as well, but it's well balanced. It's not him being that the whole time, He yells at his fiancée after she doesn't come to his marriage, which... You would expect somebody to yell at your fiancé if that happens to you.
It seems, I wouldn't say appropriate, but understandable response.
Yeah, and he doesn't yell at her. He's just really angry at the situation. So yeah, he raises his tone. It's like, completely understandable. So appropriate in that case. It's not just him being loud the whole time. Him singing his song as a wedding singer and just all of a sudden screaming afterwards. It's like, no, it's not it.
Yeah, I agree.
So what is your number one?
My number one pick is a David Mamet movie called State and Main. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Nope.
No. It's the story of State and Main is essentially there's a film crew that decide to make a movie in a small town. Okay. And it's all essentially the wheeling and dealing that goes behind that, and all the difficulties that the crew have with the stars, with the locals, and all of that. That's all it is. It's just setting up a movie, but everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. And what I love about this movie and why it always makes me laugh and makes me laugh the whole time is because there's always two layers of joke in every shot. There's one in the foreground where it is a dialogue joke, and there's one in the background where it's a visual joke. And sometimes they tie together, and it's freaking brilliant. So at one point, the movie was called The Old Mill, and they chose a town to do it in the Old Mill, but the producer didn't do his homework, and the Old Mill burned down like 20 years ago, so they don't know what to do with it. And the screenwriter is talking to one of the locals, with whom he'll eventually have a love interest, and he's going like, how do you write a movie called The Old Mill without an old mill? She's looking at us, well, first you change the title. Now, flash forward a couple of scenes later where he's discussing another thing with his producer, and there's another joke, a pretty perverted one, which I won't spoil. Yeah. In the background, you can see the one of the crew members of the movie scratching off the word Old Mill with the new name of the movie all across the background.
Nice.
Like little jokes like that, which is really funny.
So yeah, I guess, yeah, the more you pay attention, the funnier it's going to be because you get to catch all those details.
Yeah, exactly. And it's full of little details. Like, at one point they talk about, like, we'll give you an associate producer credit. And then they turn around, what's an associate producer credit? It's like, it's something you give douchebags when you don't want to give them money, you know?
Nice.
And then at the end, when you watch the credits, look out for the number of associate producers throughout the entire thing.
Oh, that's spectacular.
It's hilarious. There's also, in the credits, there's only 7 animals were harmed during the film. With, like, really big 7. Which, of course, there were no animals in the movie at all, so no animals got hurt. But
that's spectacular. But they might have used horses to carry stuff around. You don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm going to check that one out, too, then.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally recommend it.
So I guess you like stuff with, you like comedies with stuff happening in the background, too. I mean, according to your last 2 choices.
That's a good point. I think what it is that I like about that is that you can rewatch the movie and find new jokes, so you're still always laughing, because the unexpected is a big source of laughter. I mean, like, that's why the 3 picks you picked, they're all movies that you didn't think were going to be that funny, and then they were, you know? And I think that's the thing with the background jokes, is that you don't see it coming because you're watching the foreground. And then one day while you're rewatching the movie, you go like, wait a minute, what's going on over there?
Nice.
Do you have any other final one?
Well, it's not a movie, unfortunately, because I'm the gaming correspondent. So I have to, plug Borderlands 2, which is the funniest video game I have ever played. It's a first-person shooter, but you follow the story. And it's basically the bad guy is such an asshole and so arrogant and so stupid at the same time. And he can talk to you all the time because he has a link to you because he control, like, the echoes. And the things he says sometimes, you're like, why are you talking to me about this? It's like, at one point he tells you he bought himself a diamond pony. And he's like, no, it's a real pony, man, a diamond. You want to hear him? And he talks about, here's the pony. He's like, I'm thinking of naming him after you. I was thinking a butt stallion, but that's a little too direct. Maybe piss for brains or something. And you're trying to shoot people, and he's there talking all those stupid things he says about you. It's like, it's hilarious. And then just the story, like, joining the resistance, and the people in the resistance are all incompetent buffoons, and you're like, I'm joining these guys to fight that guy? What the hell? It is really a funny game, and, I would try it, and, you don't have to be good at first-person shooters, because the game plays itself eventually, so it's all good. It's totally worth it. It's like you're playing through the movie, basically, and it's completely worth it.
I love that video games are starting to incorporate humor more and more into them, and not just, like, smart ass, like, my hero's a smart aleck one-liner type thing, like in Devil May Cry 4, which I find excruciating, to be honest. But like things like what is it, Portal, like the robot that follows you and just nags at you and makes fun of your general incompetence. Yeah, like, that's great. Like, I love that we're starting to get that sort of experience into it. Yeah, exactly. Video games are supposed to be entertaining, so humor, entertaining, perfect combo. I mean, not everything has to be serious, and it's shocking in this one too, because it's a first-person shooter. You're shooting people, and yet you're laughing the whole time, which I guess is not perfect, not great. Yeah, when you frame it that way, you're shooting mutants mostly, so they're not humans. It's fine. And Professor X would have something to say against that. Oh, I think that's a good time for us to cut off. Indeed. So, if you have any questions, comments, you want to share with us some of the comedies you enjoyed, and please do, because I'll watch them, because I like to laugh. Yeah, me too. Mail us at mail@idiomatic.com, or you can post a comment at idiomatic.com. And until then, see you next time. See you next time.